right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, October 2nd. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, do you want to play a game? Do you want to
Oh,
play a game?
I mean, sure.
Because it's time to play a game because the number two from the box office wants to play a game. So I think it's time for you give us a plow. Make your choice. Give us a plow for the weekend of Friday, September 29th, 2023.
Number one, Paw Patrol, the mighty movie, made $23 million in its first weekend. Number two, Saw X made $18 million in its first weekend. Number three, The Creator, another newbie, made $14 million at the box office this weekend. Number four, The Nun 2, spooky season, going hard, $4.6 million, down only 45%. Hemorrhage Theater, 665 lost, but it's at $76.7 million in its fourth weekend. And number five, The Blind made $4.1 million in only 1,717 theaters. It's a church bus movie. Its full total gross at this moment is $4.9 million in its first week of release. That's your top five. What's missing? Dumb Money, which is at number
Wow.
7, under A Haunting in Venice. Dumb Money only made $3.5 million in its
Wow.
wide release because it was in 2,837 theaters. It's at $7.3 million. This movie is dead.
This movie is dead. I saw this film on Thursday night, and
Okay.
I saw it in a theater in a very trendy neighborhood in New York City where the people, not an art house theater, but a theater where this type of film should, in theory, do better than it will anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a nearly empty large auditorium
Wow.
on Thursday. We've talked about it a lot. This movie was a movie that needed its big cast to go out there and tell people what it is, tell people what it's about. People didn't understand. You know, Dumb Money, I don't want to say dumb audiences, but it was audiences that were undereducated on what this film would be. And, listen, I think also the title in the end wasn't very enticing. People want to feel smart. They don't want to feel dumb unless it is a comedy in which it's promising huge laughs. Dumb and Dumber is one thing, but I think a Oscar bait movie like Dumb Money, people are going to want something that sounds smarter than this.
Yeah.
And it was a confusing situation. And you're right. This movie's dead. I think its Oscar chances are dead. It's going to be totally out of theaters in the next week. And the context of the actors not being able to promote is probably the biggest factor here.
I would say I agree in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that they needed to have people explaining this. But at the end of the day, people, I think, also wouldn't be into this in a great degree otherwise, even if they knew. Because if Paul Dano goes on Hot Ones and he's eating the hot wings and he says, I play a Redditor,
Mm.
I play a Reddit poster.
Mm-hmm.
A regular person's not going to say, that's my hero. Here we
Right.
go. Got to see the movie about the Reddit guy.
Right. Right.
It's just the thing right now is that internet based heroes are not marketable at this moment and they're not rootable. Nobody wants to see a movie based on a Twitter thread. Nobody
Right.
wants to see gamers turn into non-gamers.
Gran Turismo, right? Based on a
Right?
true story.
And
Yep.
nobody wants to see Reddit posters
Yeah.
as heroes.
There is and that's a spoil, but there's a crucial turn in this movie or a moment in this movie where the audience is supposed to feel bad that a Reddit thread has been shut down. Like that is a huge emotional beat in the film Dumb Money. That, oh no, they shut down a Reddit thread, and these
And
Redditors no longer could congregate online.
oh,
That is a
did they
moment
lose
where
all their karma and points and whatnot?
yep, all the Redditors, all the shit posters. There's a moment where you're supposed to cry because the Reddit shit posters can no longer shit post and share memes. And
Okay.
I think the performance at the box office, you're right, clearly showed right now Redditors, shit posters, meme makers are not the emotional centerpieces of a normal modern audience. They
Yeah.
don't care whether or not you can shit post. If anything, they probably, I don't know if any of the tracking companies did exit polls here and asked people, do you root for shit posters to be shut down?
Mhm.
I would bet that's probably 90 to 100%. Yes, we want shit posters, Redditors, meme makers to be shut down. And this movie needs you to cry when they're shut down.
And that's the thing, is not to say that in 10, 15
Right.
years,
100%.
we
Yeah.
won't have a movie about somebody who was huge on Tumblr, and that's our
Yes.
hero, and we
Yes.
all as a nation rally behind
Yes.
that person. I just think it's not now.
It's not now. Yes.
It's not
Yes.
now. So let's not talk about this disaster,
No.
because we have successful films that were released this weekend.
We do. I would say we have 3 successful films that
No,
were
I would say
released
we
this
have
weekend.
2 successful films.
Well,
The
I'm also going to count. Let's quickly touch on that number 5 movie that
Oh,
none of
okay.
us knew what it was. No, I'm not talking about the
Okay.
creator. I'm talking
Okay.
about The Blind, which none of us, myself, yourself, wanna BO senior intern Christopher on the last episode, wanna BO junior intern Jack in his research. None of us saw The Blind coming. We were blind to The Blind. This is a Fathom event, and this is the log line for The Blind. Long before Phil Robertson was a reality TV star, he fell in love, started a family, and began to spiral out of control. The Blind shares never before revealed moments in Phil's life as he seeks out to conquer the shame of his past, ultimately finding redemption in an unlikely place. So this is like you said, a church bus film in which Jesus does not appear. Though who knows? I mean, I could very
You don't
well
know
see.
that.
Yeah, I could very well see Jesus coming to reality star Phil Robertson in a vision. Jesus maybe telling future reality star Phil Robertson, you have to get your S together. You've got to find a nice Christian woman to fall in love with. Like that could Jesus might cameo in this in mirrors,
Mhm.
and in like the reflections on dinner plates, or I guess the reflections in beer mugs. My guess would be like Jesus might be reflected in an empty beer mug or a crack vial of future reality star Phil Robertson. But this is you start off as a sinner and you end up as a winner type of church bus movie. And this isn't blowing the doors off of the church buses or the front of the churches, but $4 million.
It's a Fathom event too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like this is one of those great little additions to a theater's revenue
Yep.
that pops in, gets its mills, and then pops out, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like this is already a franchise, but it's about a future reality star, Phil Robertson. And now the people who made The Blind, you can make that reality show. You could
Yeah.
make your Phil Robertson reality show and put it on a, like PAX network or something like that,
Or
and keep the
uh,
franchise going.
you could make a sequel for this too, because there's always things
Hmm.
that you forget, like horrible things you did that you forgot. So
Yes.
run it back. Here's
Yes.
here's here's the horrible things you did that I didn't show the first time.
Yes. 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 It's sort of like
Jesus can be like, "Oh, you know what? I just kind of showed you the some of the highlights, but there's more. There's more that
there's
you
more.
did."
Yeah, yeah, because we stuck to, the drinking and the boozing. Now the sequel, we're gonna show you the gambling, the philandering, the self-mutilation that
Mhm.
we didn't show you in the first The Blind. And, yeah, I mean, good for this movie, got people in the movie theaters. eating some popcorn. I'm sure there were a lot of movie theater owners who didn't even realize that they were showing this film
Oh,
and
yeah.
were pleasantly surprised. So good for the blind Fathom
They thought it was
event.
probably just an opera or something. If it's a Fathom, they're like, "Whatever, just put it in
Right.
there. It's an opera probably."
Right, right. I wonder how often theater owners get the thumb drive from Fathom, stick it in the side of their USB slot for the projector, and don't even really know what they're about to show.
A
You
lot of
know,
times.
is it
I'd say 98%.
right, right. Where they're like, the bus that's showing up, is it coming from a church? Is it coming from, the Upper West Side to see an opera? Is it coming? Who knows where this bus is coming from?
Mhm.
But this weekend it was to see The Blind. So before we get into the two winners, the two big winners, let's talk about the creator real quick. So this
One big
is,
winner.
I would say two winners, but we'll get to those. Let's knock out this creator. So this is a 20th century under the Disney umbrella release. It is Gareth Edwards' new original sci-fi film starring John David Washington, and this thing opened to $14 million. It's an
Yep.
$80 million budget. Obviously, whatever movies cost what they cost. But the big thing is here, this is not looking like it's going to be a success. I don't
No.
think the cost to revenue ratio is going to be something Fox is happy with, or 20th Century is happy with here. And we kind of called this. I mean, I think I might have went lower than 14. I feel like I was like, this is going to make 12 or 13, but we all kind of, or maybe want to be senior intern Christopher might have been the highest of us on this. Did he
Uh,
have this at number
uh,
one, or he had
no. None of us
no,
had
no.
this at number 1.
Okay.
I had this at number 2 just because of the PLFs. I
Right,
thought
right.
that that additional ticket price would be the thing to put it over, Saw X, not interest. It would just have been the fact that there's a lot of IMAXs available for this film.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, this failed for all the reasons we mentioned in the last episode. Gareth Edwards is not an auteur that people care about. John David Washington is not a star.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm reading a lot of articles by pundits chastising people for not seeing this movie because it's original sci-fi. Don't you want original sci-fi? Don't you want original movies? What are you doing? Guess what? It doesn't matter. People don't choose movies that way. They don't say, well, if it's original, I guess I got to sit through it.
right, right.
They wanna see movies they wanna see,
Yeah,
and a spectacular, film that is original will do business, but a movie that looks like it this movie did not have anything that hadn't been done before in my mind. What was the difference between this and, say, Oblivion, except for Tom Cruise wasn't in it?
right,
Like,
right.
this thing did not look unique in any shape or form,
It
okay?
did, you're right. Oblivion's such a good one. I mean, Oblivion obviously opened, like, to 40 million or something, but
Yeah.
Oblivion, this looks like the second tier Tom Cruise sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
except it
Yeah.
didn't have Tom Cruise, it had a star's son in it,
Yes. Yes, yes.
and this the son of a star who's never been known for sci-fi. If this had Surrey Cruise in it,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then you say, okay, the Cruise sci-fi lineage continues. I'll
Yeah.
see Surrey Cruise in this, but Denzel Washington's not a sci-fi guy, and then you got his son in there in a genre that's never been tied to the family, so you don't even have that going for it. You mentioned IMAXs. This movie, IMAX, it looked like it did almost 50% of the business for this film. I'm
Yeah.
seeing. So that is, it did fit 53% of the weekend for the creator came from PLF and IMAX screens. So not just
Yeah.
IMAX, but PLF and IMAX. But the large quality formats are really what took the creator even to this number. So if the creator didn't
Wow.
have those, it's not going to be the creator, it's the creator. Because
Oh,
this movie
yeah.
would have fully cratered at the box office if it didn't have those IMAX prices propping it up.
That's
Um,
terrible, yeah, what a disaster.
yeah, it's like you said, people wanna see what they wanna see. No one makes movie choices morally
Mhm.
in that, "Let me support the creator so that I get other original films that I'll like better down the road." The support, I should be a word stricken from talking about the box office, talking about
Yes.
film. People do not support a film the way they support a charity or they support a political candidate. They
Mhm.
or the way they support a baseball team, you know?
Yeah.
Original film is not the Mets. I support the Mets. I do not support a
Yes.
genre of film that I like. I support a movie that I wanna see. So
And you will
people
go
aren't going
see a Mets game during a terrible season to
to support.
support,
Yes.
but you're not gonna see a movie that you think looks boring or terrible to support original sci-fi.
Listen, I went to see, not to go back to it, but I saw the film Dumb Money on Thursday, partially to support the New York Mets, because one of the characters depicted in Dumb Money is Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets. He's
Wow,
a
okay.
financial scumbag who was a financial scumbag in the Dumb Money universe, and he's since bought the New York Mets. And him being in the movie, his real life character being depicted by Vincent D'Onofrio in Dumb Money was a draw to me for that movie because I support the New York Mets, not because I
Okay.
support original Oscar bait dramas in the theaters. That's not why I went. I went to support the New York Mets.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, that's I mean, sports movies are not sports, you know
movies
what I
are not
mean?
sports.
The box office is like a sport. It's better than a lot of the sports that
Yes,
people follow. Like, listen, I'm a hockey fan, but box office is better than hockey.
yes, 100%. Yes.
I would say it's better than baseball, although you would disagree.
No, baseball number 1, box office number 2, NFL, NBA, pro wrestling,
Okay, great.
yeah, battling for number 3. So, do you see there are demos for the creator? Do you have the demos in front of you, demo guy?
I don't. Do you have
I
them?
have some demos here. So, guys really were the majority of this box office. 71% of the audience were guys, half of those between 18 and 34. So, a young audience amongst the guys there. Well, and now, yeah, 1834 is a demo you want to be in, but man, women did not care about this movie. Women did not care about this movie. And this was not a date movie.
Oh,
This was
yeah.
guys, to the degree anyone went to see this film for 14 million. This was guys who just went on their own, who just
Ugh.
went and went by themselves. So this is a lonely guys film,
Yeah, if I'm a
and
lady and I walk into this theater, I'm probably taking a few steps back
yeah,
and, maybe going to see Saw X, which was more of a date movie.
yes. Oh, it was so much. I mean, listen, we'll get to it. Billy the Puppet, I think, has crossed that threshold into being just someone everyone wants to hang out with or someone feels comfortable with. But
An internet crush?
women did not feel comfortable in this the creator audience. This was all lonely dudes who
Mhm.
wanted to see a AI, character. And we'll get into the AI of it in a second, but the diversity demos, 46% white, 20% Hispanic and Latino, 18% black, 15% Asian other. So you did get an over indexing in slightly in Asian and in black. So John David Washington and the premise of the creator did get a little bit of over indexing there, but it's still 46% white. This was still mostly a white guy audience,
Yeah.
you know, a lonely by himself white guy audience to see this AI film. So Clayton, I'll throw to you. We talked earlier about how gamers, redditors, shit posters do not feel like they're ready for prime time to be the hero of a hit film. AI as a concept, and AI as a sci-fi concept has obviously been part of big movies before. iRobot was sort of a, hey, robots taking over, Terminator, all that stuff. But
Yeah,
AI,
Terminator's the biggest one. Yeah,
right.
Terminator's AI.
But I think we're getting to a place where in the Terminator days, you're like, wow, look at this problem that's hundreds of years down the line. It's fun to imagine the destruction that AI could cause at the box office. I think we're in a period now where people don't want to deal with that, and
Mhm.
they don't want to see depictions of what if AI screws with everyday human life. It's just not a fun premise in this moment where that could actually happen any second.
Well, when Terminator came out, especially Terminator 2, which I think is like the defining
Mhm.
Terminator movie because it really goes into that whole idea a little bit more.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think there was
More
still
so than
hope.
Genesis, yeah.
Yeah, there was still hope to defeat it. There was still
Mm,
hope that someone would heed the warnings. And now we know, and we should have known, because
right.
it's like this with everything, is that if they can do it, they will do it. And it doesn't matter if it's helpful for society or not, because people will just unemotionally try to push things to the very limit
Mhm.
until we are completely destroyed. That's just the way it always goes. And so I think that there's a level of fatalism in people's point of view
Mm,
now that doesn't allow them to sit back, relax, and watch a movie where AI destroys everything because that in their mind is reality, is
mhm,
happening and will happen. And there's no way to stop it. And I think
mhm,
that does not make for escapist entertainment. And I don't think this movie's smart enough to be a highbrow version of this where you get the high-minded people to come and say, "Oh my gosh, this is a masterpiece." It's an action movie about AI starring a guy that doesn't bring butts to the seats with a director that nobody knows. The only thing they know about is that he got Rogue One taken away from him.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
And I
I
heard that
think
there was a lot of spin about that in some articles. Anthony D is for Disney, D. Alessandro, saying,
mhm.
"Oh, well, that was overstated." It's like, nah, dude, it doesn't matter if it didn't happen that way. He's still the guy that didn't finish Rogue One.
Right, right, right. 100%, 100%. If you get taken off of, listen, Clayton has been removed from
Oh,
several jobs, situations,
many
buildings,
forcibly.
forcibly removed, and anytime you've been forcibly removed, there's no spin that could have covered that up.
No, no.
No. You were removed. Gareth Edwards was removed from Rogue One. The last film that he made, I think you said it there, it wasn't a masterpiece. And this film in some ways needed to, if not be a masterpiece, to have more glowing reviews behind it. And like we talked about on the preview episode, needed to have an image in that trailer, a sequence in that trailer that made people get excited. There was not
Mhm.
a blowing up the White House from above Independence Day style moment where
Yeah.
people were saying you got to see this creator. That this film just didn't have that. It didn't have a giant star. AI is a premise that if anything scares people in the wrong way,
Mhm.
and that, listen, it added up to 14 million, and I think a film that is not going to hold. I mean, this is 65. Let's be honest. We saw 65
Yeah.
earlier in the year with Adam Driver, and this was definitely supposed to be much bigger. And I think we're looking at the same trajectory because 65 open to around the same number, right? 65 open to
I think
uh
it opened to less.
did it open to us? Did it open to single digit 65? Did it only open at 9 or 10 million dollars? Um Looking at that now, and 65, which came out just this March, open to 12. So
Okay, so not
kind of
that
the
far
same
off.
thing. And it wound up at 32. And the creator is probably headed for the same direction, to wind up in the 30s, probably doesn't crack 40.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think the
absolutely.
creator gets to a number much higher than what 65 did.
Yeah, I mean, with the movies that are coming out, in the next couple weeks, this thing's just gonna get buried.
It's just
Especially, I
gonna get
mean, with
buried.
I mean, obviously, the 10,000-pound gorilla or whatever, Taylor Swift, that movie's taken over the IMAXs. This thing's no
Yes.
one's seen this movie in a postage stamp size theater screen.
No. No. I mean, listen, next Friday, this coming Friday is The Exorcist Believer, and whatever you think of that film, it's gonna get the PLFs. It's gonna get the large format screens. So, you know, next weekend is how many people are paying how many tickets priced at $8 add up to the second weekend at the Creator, and that's probably not going to be very much. So let's talk about Clayton. Do you mind if we skip to the number one film right now at the box office? Can we
Yeah,
skip
I was
forward to
going
number one?
to. Let's do it. The most successful movie of the weekend, which I called,
Y-
and no
y-
one else did.
You did. So why don't you, as the redditors and the shit posters say, why don't you get your flowers, Clayton? You called the number one. So tell us, Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie made $23 million, and tell us why. How did this end up at number one?
I mean, it's as simple as the credo that we live by, and
Mhm.
I sometimes don't live by it, and I always get burnt, is that the rats need their cheese.
They need their cheese.
This movie had an A cinema score, which is better
Mhm.
than the first one, which was at an A minus. It was just the right movie at the right time. Now, was it impacted by the torrential rain? I think probably there was a little bit of impact for at least the top 2 movies, I
Yes.
think, this weekend because of rain.
Yeah.
But
Theaters
I
were closed. Major theaters in New York City were closed.
Yeah, but they were only closed for what was it? Was it Friday night?
Yes, yes. And I
Yeah.
think by Saturday things were back to normal. By Saturday, the rats had drunk enough, and I don't mean the children, I mean actual sewer rats had drank enough of the rainwater that the sewers were emptied and the theaters were able to open. That's how we solve things in New York City.
So, kids gave this a 91% recommend, kids under 12.
Hmm.
This thing is popular, kids love it. If the parents were like, "It's too rainy this weekend, we can't go," they're going next weekend.
Yep.
I think this is a movie that can go head to head with something like Exorcist, something like Taylor Swift, because it is
Wow.
such a different movie
Yeah.
than anything else that's out there. The Paw Patrol brand is strong,
Hmm.
and I think that this is a movie that it's not gonna blow the doors off, but it's definitely a great rebound from the first one, which had the coronavirus sort of, issue it had to deal with when it originally came out. So I do think that this franchise is strong at the
This is strong.
moment.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I think this will play well for the next, 6 to 8 weeks until it's on PVOD or Paramount Plus. So, yeah, the kids went out to see it. Listen, I after the preview episode where I was a little low on this, a wannabe girl, longtime OG wannabe girl on this show reached out to me to listen, rake me over the coals. I'll be honest, for being low on the Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie, because she told me that in LA, and obviously, you know, the coasts are not the stacks or the plains, but in LA, couldn't drive anywhere without seeing posters, signage, billboards for this film, and that had an effect. She has a child. She has a wannabe
Mhm.
oh baby who listens to this show,
Of
whether by
course.
choice or not. The wannabe oh baby listens to this show, and she saw those billboards and she said, "Mama, mama, mama, I want to see Paw Patrol." She's never watched a second of Paw Patrol cartoon. She's never watched any of the digital shorts that Paw Patrol puts out, any of their shoulder content. Never seen them. Just saw the signage and said, "Mama, mama, mama, take me to that. Take me to that film."
'Cause it's puppies.
It's puppies. It's
I mean,
puppies.
you
And they're
don't
dressed
need
as
to know.
superheroes, which I guess, we
Mm,
threw that out there. It helps. They're puppies, and they're very cute puppies. We've seen
I
other puppies that are not as cute. The Paw Patrol design, gets a kid to just see a flat image and want to see it. They're
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. Absolutely. They're cute.
They're cute.
And you
We
know who else is cute?
Who
Billy.
else? Well, do you want to quickly? Do you see any diversity demo info that
I
matters to
mean,
you on Paw Patrol?
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know if
on
we
Paw
need to
Patrol. Paw
do.
Patrol didn't really happen, but Paw Patrol, yeah, it looks like it's split across Hispanic at 32%. So, really pretty diverse crowd for 19% Asian, other 15% black. So everyone came out. Everyone was equally charmed by these puppies. So good
Mhm.
showing out of Paw Patrol. The franchise is strong. We'll be seeing Paw Patrol 3. Will we be seeing Saw XI? I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It
Here's the
didn't go
thing.
to number 1.
It didn't.
It didn't go as high as you and Brett from The New Flesh, The Great New Flesh,
Yep.
hashtag horror lifestyle.
Mhm.
But what I would say is this is by no means a failure.
Oh, no.
I thought you guys were crazy for saying this thing was gonna open in the 20s, in the 30s even.
That was a while ago, but I had left it at 23 or 24 on our prediction. I thought
You
low
yeah,
20s. I thought a little higher than the industry tracking, which had it at 20 by the end. I had it a
but
little higher than that.
here's the thing. We got a personal text from a wannabe oh boy who has a direct line to us
Okay.
that sent us the Rotten Tomatoes scores for
Yes.
this, which was in the 90s at the time,
Yes.
and nothing had ever in this franchise had gotten over 50.
No. I mean, this franchise was clearly placed in the, you know, 2000s torture porn bucket.
Yeah,
And I use bucket correctly here because
bucket of guts.
Hostel, Bucket of Guts, Saw, all of the imitators, they were bucket movies. Things
Mhm,
wound up in buckets in those films. And I
mhm.
think Saw has been derided as torture porn, as low rent. And what I called was I felt like right now Saw was coming in for a reappraisal. And I do think it got its critical cultural reappraisal here. And I
Yeah.
think the audience didn't come out to the large degree I thought, but I still think Saw is on an upswing coming out of Saw X in a way that it was not, 3 films ago.
I think it helped in a way that Spiral was rejected so hard, in the sense that this looks like such a great rebound from that, as opposed to making, like, a little under 2 million more than Jigsaw, right? So, I mean, which is what it did. It didn't blow the doors off. It didn't get into the 30s like the High Times did. But here's the thing with this movie is that I do think it's going to have legs. I
Yes,
think
it's gonna
that
have legs.
with the word of mouth, and especially with weather being a little bit better and spooky season getting into full throttle, which, I mean, we saw
Mhm.
The Nun doing well here, and
Right.
The Nun way stronger than I gave it credit for. I feel bad. I need to go and do my penance for
Yes.
how badly I spoke against The Nun.
Yes. Should
But
you go to should you go to a church? Do you think right
yes.
now church are accepting people who just want to say I'm sorry to a nun?
Mhm.
And
Uh,
I think that's a great listen. Churches are always looking for ways to fill the coffers nowadays. Attendance is down. You talk about theater attendance, church attendance is down in a lot of markets. And if they opened up a business model where you could come and apologize to a nun for under predicting the success of the Nun 2, I think that's a way for these churches to make a couple extra coins on the weekend.
I just know personally that I will go to confession for the first time in decades.
Decades.
I mean,
Wow.
we're talking, I don't think I've been to confession in 25 years.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm going to march myself into a church. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get in that booth and I'm not going to use the screen like a coward. I'm going to be
Wow.
face to face with a priest and
Right,
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna punch
say,
through the screen. You're gonna say, we gotta remove this, I have
well,
to
at
look you in the
my
eye."
church where I used to go to church, you had an option. You could either go face to face like a man, or you
Right,
could hide
right.
behind the screen like a
Gotcha,
worm.
gotcha,
I
okay.
always went face to face like a man. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna sit face to face with that priest. And I'm gonna say, "Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. I
Right,
underestimated the box office power of The Nun 2."
right, right,
And then I'm
right.
gonna get up and go because there's nothing else I wanna say to this guy.
Yeah, yeah. You're not even gonna wait to hear how many Hail Marys. You're just
No,
gonna get up and go.
no,
Okay.
he's just gonna see my ass.
Right, right. It's just a
Yeah.
little tookus on the way out,
Yep,
shaking that
absolutely.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's fair, and I think, again, that's a great potential revenue stream for these churches. So the Nun 2 has held really well. Saw X, obviously, these Saw movies do not hold historically as well, and The Exorcist Believer is coming out, but it's true. Saw X opened on September 29th. That is not spooky season, and obviously
No.
horror's year-round, but that is not taking advantage of the Shocktober bump in any way,
Yeah.
and they, I think, clearly did this because they're gonna drop it on PVOD the week before Halloween. That's coming.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but you're right. I think the hold should be pretty good based on the film was well reviewed. There's obviously love for this franchise. You're not going to have rainstorms, fingers crossed, next weekend. And you'll get the more Halloween, October, hey, let's see what horror movies are out there
Yeah.
situation.
I do think, and not to beat up on The Exorcist, because we're gonna get to The Exorcist on this coming
Yes.
Wednesday's episode or
Yes.
Thursday
Possibly with a big
episode.
special horror guest. So we'll leave it at that.
So, Robert Englund, so we're gonna talk about it, but I think if I look and see, there's a rapturously reviewed, Saw movie out,
Hmm.
or a maligned Exorcist movie coming out, where is my dollar gonna go?
Right.
My dollar's gonna
Right.
go to Saw. Like, I just do think that I always say horror is critic proof, and, I facetiously said that in, return to that text that we got, that it's
Hmm.
critic proof. It doesn't matter what, a penny for a sentence bloggers say about a movie when it
Right.
comes to
Right.
horror or anything truly. But I do think in this case, somebody who knows the Saw history and knows that these movies are maligned and sees a high score like that is going to be curious,
Yes.
because the thing with the creator is everybody was saying 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's bullshit for that sort of movie.
Yes,
That sort
that
of
movie
movie
needs to be
had to have
95%. Yes,
it
and
had to
have
have the
Oscar
Saw
buzz.
Yes, it had to have the Saw X number at the
Right.
on Rotten Tomatoes. The fact that this movie got that high of a Rotten Tomatoes score shocked even myself and
Yes.
made me even more curious. And I
Yeah.
think that is going to be something that's gonna get people going, because this Exorcist movie looks like dog shit, and I think people are going to know that. They're gonna wanna spend their hard-earned money on something that looks good.
Yeah.
And
Um,
the Hollies fans came out, Pat. I mean, we didn't even respect the Hollies fans here, because if the
yeah,
base came, which is 16.5 million,
yeah.
this
I
thing
mean,
got to 18. We're talking 1.5 million dollars worth of Hollies fans, and
yeah.
they can't be wrong.
Listen, I would say the base for Saw is closer to the 14 million that Saw 6 made in 2009, because other than Spiral, that's the low watermark of the franchise. Jigsaw actually had a little bit of an uptick
Okay,
from that. So 14, 15 million is the base. And so this film did above that and did a big rebound from Spiral.
okay,
So I would say you got a couple of million worth of Hollies fans. I think something to factor in here is, more than any other Saw release, they've really done a great job of making Billy the Puppet go mainstream. I mean, did you
okay.
see the Billy the Puppet Saw parody of the Nicole Kidman AMC uh film? So that
No.
you've
Did
got you've
somebody
got a
make this? Was it fan made?
no, no, this was part of the movie's promotion, and it's got millions of views on YouTube. and on various social medias, your TikToks, your IG reels and so on. And it's a great parody of that. It's Billy the Puppet riding his bicycle into a movie theater, watching moments from previous Saw films,
It's great.
talking about how self-mutilation feels good in a place like this. Great parody. Listen, if this was SNL with Sarah Squirm playing Billy the Puppet, we this would be another star-making vehicle for her.
Mhm.
Huge, I would say, success in making Billy the Puppet relatable, making him pop culture kitsch. Obviously, there is the line where it becomes Chucky and then therefore becomes, more of a streamer. So Billy the Puppet obviously isn't there yet. Billy could open a film in the way that Chucky really can't right now. But
Yeah.
I think this is a move they had to make because you didn't want to be in the torture porn bucket anymore.
No.
Torture porn's over. Audiences have left the bucket behind. Billy the Puppet needed to evolve. And I think that the critical success here, the 18 million, that showed Billy the Puppet has changed with the times.
Mhm.
So I think they
So
did a great job setting Billy the Puppet up to continue in the modern age and not just be in that torture porn bucket forever.
now the writer strike has ended, but the SAG strike is still continues,
Right.
as I know, because I'm on the front lines
Yeah.
as a SAG member in horrible standing, who's
Yes. Oh, it's
dodging
gotten
phone
worse.
calls at this point. Yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah, yeah. The
standing has
standing's gotten worse.
decreased. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Over the strike, it's gotten way, way worse.
Wow. Wow.
My esteem inside that institution has gotten so low. But
Right.
SNL was not able to premiere when it normally premieres because of the strikes.
Right. Right.
Now, it's supposed to be coming back sometime in October, hopefully.
Right.
But my question here, when we talk about people not being able to promote, were we robbed of a Tobin Bell hosted SNL with a
You
Billy
know.
cameo? I mean, was that something that we only would have been able to see this season? This
Right.
was the
Right.
season for it.
Right. Right.
Season premiere, Tobin Bell, host SNL. And were we robbed of that?
Here's the thing. I don't think we were robbed of that yet because I think he doesn't get to host until Saw X does a good opening weekend number. Say
Okay.
there's no strikes at all. I don't think Lauren puts Tobin Bell, the Jigsaw Killer, as the host unless Saw already has opened well and shown that it's still part of the public consciousness. So I think what I'm saying there's a chance.
Okay.
I'm saying there's a chance. And
So
listen,
he still may. Okay.
little bit of a
But
tease because you and I have been talking about doing a special episode on this feed where we make our annual picks for
mhm.
who's going to host SNL. That may or may not be dropping on this feed as a special bonus, non box office related episode. And I think you got to throw Tobin Bell in the maybe pile right now. He's in the maybe bucket. He's in the maybe
Okay.
bucket of hosting SNL.
But you know who's not in that bucket
Who's not in the
is
bucket?
John David Washington.
He will not be hosting SNL based on the creator.
Yeah.
That is he's in the no bucket. He's in the
I
severed
think he
host
got,
bucket.
they put the names up on the little index cards. I
Yeah.
feel like that index card over the weekend got thrown in the trash.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I think no John David Washington, but
See,
maybe
you can do
Billy the
that.
Puppet.
I can't because
I'm
I'm in
not in SAG.
scabbing.
Yes. I could do a Lauren impression on this show because I'm not in SAG.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. Next weekend we got an Exorcist Believer, so we'll be talking about that midweek, possibly with a special horror guest. Child care dependent on that one. I'm hearing, but
Kane
we'll
Hodder.
see. So yeah, I mean, Clayton, that is the box office weekend. Love seeing all these new films. Love being surprised by a new film like The Blind. Nice
I
little
mean,
Monday morning treat there.
we had only one holdover in the top 5, and that was The Nun.
Yep. And we again do have to apologize to church representatives for underestimating The Nun. too.
I guess I have to then also, when I go to confession, say I was blindsided by The Blind. Might as well
Yeah,
throw that in there too.
I mean, I think that one you find a local reality TV show star and you apologize to them.
Okay.
Yeah, more than a church bus movie, I feel like that film, it's a victory for reality TV as a protagonist. People are still accepting of reality TV stars as a protagonist, your Truman Show type of star, but they do not want Redditors, shit posters, and gamers as the stars yet. We don't feel comfortable with that line of work quite yet.
Well, reality stars have been around since the real world started in their early 90s, so I
Right,
think there's time for that to happen,
right.
where Redditors have only been around and in the public consciousness for a shorter time.
Yes, yes. Shit posters have not integrated themselves into society like
No.
reality stars have.
Yeah.
So, listen, everyone, audience, email us. We'd love getting your email. So, email us, the BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. Let us know if you saw any of these films. Hey, if you saw The Blind at a Fathom event this weekend, we'd love to get that boots on the ground reporting. So, email us at the BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. Of course, give us 5 stars on all the podcast platforms, but most importantly, Apple Podcasts, the only one that matters. Follow us on the social medias. Wannabe senior intern Christopher killing it with the vertical videos on social media at the BO Boys Pod on TikTok, on Twitter X. We hear soon that there will be additional posting happening on Twitter X from the BO Boys account, and not shit posting, just box office posting. So
Yeah.
follow us at the BO Boys Pod on your social medias. Of course, we are YouTubers, so watch the show on YouTube so you get the full story and subscribe to the channel. These subscriptions are going up and up and up. And the more subscriptions we get, the bigger this show can get, because there's a lot of great things that happen when we hit certain subscription milestones. So subscribe to the YouTube channel today, like the videos, and of course, Clayton, ring what?
That bell.
Ring that bell on YouTube. And I said, of course, write us 5 stars, all of that. Hey, listen, shout out to the great podcast Jesus, great guest Kirk Minahan had a successful pay-per-view spectacular this weekend live from Saco, Maine, and we watched it. Huge pay-per-view spectacular. They announced 2 new producers, one of whom is named Jack Clayton. So I don't think that's a coincidence here that
No.
now 2 producers, one's named Jack. Listen, we have learned a great amount from Kirk Minahan, but based on that pay-per-view, might have learned a little something from the BO boys.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying, or at least it seeps in there. But if you haven't already, you could order the replay right
Yeah.
now and catch what you missed. You could order the replay of the Kirk Minahan pay-per-view spectacular and and get up to date. So that's it. I mean, I think we've done it, Clayton.
I don't think there's anything left to say.
No, there's nothing.
Except for until next time.
Will
We'll
smell
smell
you
you
at
at
the
the
bar.